Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 20th episode of the Drive Podcast. I can't believe we've already got 20 episodes. That's crazy, first off. Second off, we got some big news here on the podcast this week. Obviously, by the time this is up, it may have already happened, but at this current time in the world we're living, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics are in talks to send the number one overall pick to the Sixers for, some other picks and whatnot. But then also there's like a rumor of a 3-team trade with the Bulls and whatnot. So, well, hopefully it happens while we're recording, so we could actually, get everything straight. But before we start off, we do have a guest this week who will be talking some Sixers with us. We have John McNish, who is joining myself and Kyle. So that's always fun, right, Kyle?
Absolutely, it's John. Everything gets better when John's in here.
That is a proven medical fact for anybody wondering at home.
Doctor approved.
So yeah, the usual. We'll be talking Flyers, we'll be talking Phillies as well, but obviously the big news is the Sixers. So we'll start off with that since it is the biggest story right now at this current moment in time. So, like I said, the Sixers and the Celtics at the moment are very deep in talks that would send the number one overall pick to Philly. So, at the moment, there's been a boatload of reports by virtually every big NBA insider and reporter and they're all pretty much reporting, generally the same thing. The consensus is pretty much the number one to Philly, and to Boston would be the number 3 plus either 1 or 2 future firsts. So pretty much either next year's Lakers pick or the 2019 Kings pick. Personally, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I would rather lose next year's Lakers pick.
Yeah, easily. Kings pick should not go anywhere because the Kings are going to suck for the rest of eternity.
Also, proven medical fact that the Kings will suck forever. I'm a medical professional now. My word goes on that.
He is.
Trust John. He's a doctor.
Not exactly.
Yes.
Let's not get out of hand.
It's close enough. Close enough. You're the most qualified amongst most of us. So
I'm definitely the closest. I'm the closest to being a doctor in this conversation. We'll say that. That's fair.
Yes.
Which counts.
Without a doubt. It counts. But yeah, then there have also been, pretty recent reports of a third team being involved in these talks, and that team would be the Chicago Bulls. And the reports floating there would be pretty much similar to what the previous reports would be, except Jahlil Okafor and Jimmy Butler would also be thrown around in the conversation. But the thing that kind of follows up there is that you figure that we would probably end up be sending our picks to the Bulls instead of the Celtics, because obviously they'd be getting Butler. So you'd have to wonder, would it be the same? Would it be more? Like, what do you guys... John, we'll start with you, obviously. You're the guest here.
So kind.
What would you think would be happening if it were to be a 3-team trade?
Okay, if it's a 3-team trade, which is... It's always more likely to have a 3-team trade when one of the teams has made the playoffs recently. Or advance in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. So everybody knows that the Celtics don't really, quote-unquote, want draft picks, because they think that they are, however many players away that they think they are. No matter how many players away they are, they're wrong. It's not enough. They're so far away. And honestly, I really do hope that they get Jimmy Butler, because I really am psyched for the Jimmy Butler angry face when Isaiah doesn't pass him the ball in crunch time. But we'll get back to that in a minute for Butler's fit with the Celtics. So how much the Sixers would have to give up to get to 1 in that scenario probably doesn't change. I think that when I was hearing rumblings that there were no players involved, I was like, all right, it's definitely 2 firsts. You know, it's probably the Lakers pick. It's probably the Lakers pick next year, and probably the Sixers pick in 2019, along with number 3 this year. And I think that that's fair to get up to number 1, because the value of the number 1 pick in the NBA is greater than it is in any other sport. The number 1 pick is like
Absolutely.
just for the value that the pick generates over the course of their career, as far as All-Star games, all NBA teams. The gap between them and the rest of the top 5 is enormous, and then it keeps like growing exponentially the further down you go in the first round. So whatever you have to do, especially when the gap is as big as it seems to be between Fultz and everybody else, you do what you have to do. You know, for the most part, people seem to be pretty comfortable with the deal as it is, with 2 first-round picks going in. And as long as the Sixers still pick in the first round in each of the next 3 drafts, you know, that's fine. I don't care I don't care which picks they send. I'll be bummed if it's the Sacramento pick, but you got to spend money to make money. So,
and they're at the point where they can afford to do that.
That's why
they've built the team.
Why you get this many picks. You don't like get this many picks so you can draft every player that ever comes out of college. Like, ideally that would be great, but you have to give contracts to all those guys too, so it's not really feasible.
And you have to win at some point. You have to start winning to make these draft picks what you all want them to be.
Right. So when you have a guy who is the perfect fit for the 2, stars that you've seemingly stars that you've already drafted. I mean, Embiid, obviously, if he stays on the court, is like a top 5 to 10 NBA player, period. And then Simmons, who has limitless potential, and now you're getting another guy in Fultz who is the same thing. He's like the prototype for point guards in the current and future NBA. Like, crazy athlete, shoots over 40% from 3, like. All the tools are there, so you do what you have to do to get that guy to fit with, who's not just a great player, but he's a great fit. And if they get rid of Okafor,
exactly.
Icing on the cake.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, you got to figure so pretty much Okafor would go to Chicago, Butler would go to the Celtics, and then we'd get the first, but then to the Bulls, they would also get our picks.
I think the Bulls get the Bulls get our picks. I think the Celtics would get the Bulls' first round pick. That's okay, the way I could see it going.
Okay, so pretty much the Celtics would be getting Butler, the Bulls first. And that's it. And then we'd be getting the number 1 overall, and then the Bulls would be getting Okafor.
Number 3 this year.
Number 3 this year.
The Laker pick next year, and the Sixers pick in 2019.
Else? Laker pick next year?
And probably the Sixer pick in 2019. I would guess that is the haul. And maybe, honestly, the Celtics have a lot of picks too, so they might be sending something else that way. But I'm not sure. I think Butler is for just the number 1 pick is a reasonable deal, but there are some Boston homers on Twitter, like some people who will not be named, who work for a website conglomerate that will not be named, that think that the number 1 pick is more valuable than Jimmy Butler, which is total bullshit, pardon my French. But I don't think that there's I don't think that you can give up enough to get a guy like Markelle Fultz. So whatever anybody gives up whatever they give up is plenty and fine. I don't care.
Yeah, Fultz has clearly set himself as the number 1 pick, and that anyone who questions that is simply not paying attention.
Yep.
Like, it's Fultz, and then it's Ball and Monk and all these other guys, but Fultz is clearly the best player in the draft, and there's no way that you could pass up on it if you get the opportunity to get a guy like him.
Yep.
Especially in the Sixers' position where they basically have all the assets already. Like, that's the thing, they have a team built. Like, they don't need to worry about giving up the future. Like, they already have the future. The future's there. It's just a matter of if they can stay healthy or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to provide a little bit of context to this whole kind of rumor at the moment, because even though it is really close to happening, it is technically only rumor. But there was reports, Fultz did have a meeting with the Celtics tomorrow, which is Saturday the 17th, so this will be 2 days ago when you're listening to this. But he was scheduled to meet with the Celtics in Boston for like a final meeting pre-draft. Pretty much, more than likely they were going to say, okay, yeah, we're going to take you, or it's still up in the air, because there were a lot of rumors floating that Josh Jackson could have gone 1 to the Celtics as well. But they canceled that meeting with Boston and now have rerouted it to Philly. So
clearly things are going on.
Yeah, clearly that's a big development, obviously. But then there were also people that were saying that Jordan Schultz, I believe it was. So Jordan Schultz reported originally at quarter after 7 Eastern time. He said that the Fultz meeting in Boston would still happen, but then, like, 15 minutes later, reported that it would be scrapped, and, per Woj, because, Woj he's Woj, but, he knows everything. So that's pretty much a thing. Now it's just timeline. When could the deal get done is basically all that needs to be worked out. Especially now adding in a third team, they have to iron out some other things. If that report is true, the third team, none of the big outlets have reported that. Only not only, but Bleacher Report's head NBA draft guys reported that. So still a good, obviously, a good
chance
outlet to kind of get your info from, and a good chance that it will include a third team, aka the Bulls, but you never know. It still could just be a 2-team trade, but either way, I mean, I don't really see a way in which it doesn't work out for the Sixers and getting Fultz.
Right, when there are guys like Adrian Wojnarowski and Zach Lowe Zach Lowe like went on SportsCenter and said that the deal is like agreed to. So when that's the case, you know that it's something is real. Something real is like actually happening. Because he has a very good reputation around the league and in journalism. So he's not going to risk that on something that's not there. So I really feel like it's not just smoke. Like something is actually going to happen. I'm not really sure what the final construct of the deal is going to be, and as far as what is going to be in it, that determines when it's announced. Because the Sixers can't trade next year's pick until draft night, if that's what they plan to do. Then they would have to have the Celtics select Fultz for them, and they would have to select, Josh Jackson or whoever the Celtics want at 3, or whoever the Bulls want.
Which could very well happen.
Could very well happen. It's realistic that we would have to wait 6 days for this to be, officially announced. And then, I'll probably be dead by then. So, let's hope that that's not the case and that it gets ironed out and announced, sometime late tonight or, in the next, by the end of this sentence. Would be great.
that would be lovely.
Or tomorrow. That way I don't have a car and everything between now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if it's not, even if they made it official tonight, but didn't actually happen, because like you said, if it does include next year's pick, they can't technically trade it until the draft. So we would have to wait to technically get the pick, but we would pretty much get the pick tonight.
Right. I just want to know that I'm getting Markelle Fultz. That's all I want to know. That's like all I've wanted since the beginning of the college basketball season. That's all I wanted, since the lottery, even though that didn't go our way. I tried to talk myself into the Celtics just taking Jackson at 1 and being super dumb, and the Lakers already being like sold on Ball, which, by the way, they are still taking Lonzo Ball at 2. I would bet my life that that's going to happen. That's not really here nor there, but I just really, I feel like I've been pretty good. I've worked really hard all year, doing the right things, and all I really want is Markelle Fultz as a reward. That's it. That's all I want.
So apparently the Sixers brain trust is back from a Josh Jackson workout, so who knows if that actually means anything, but that might.
Well, no, Colangelo was in Sacramento today for a private workout with Josh Jackson.
So who?
And honestly, it might not have been. It might not have been Colangelo. I would assume that it was
the tweet I just
because
saw was just brain
because
trust.
Brandon Williams, I think, who's the VP of basketball operations, he was the one who worked out Malik Monk yesterday, and then I think he was the one intending to work out De'Aaron Fox tomorrow, and I feel like they still will work out Fox tomorrow just to be safe. So I don't really want everybody going crumbling to the ground when they hear that Fox is working out in Philly, but. And you don't have to worry about any of the crap that people are saying out there. The Sixers aren't trading up for Jason Tatum. They're not trading up for Josh Jackson. If they get to number 1, they are taking Markelle Fultz. There is no other way about it.
If they don't, if they don't take him, then Colangelo needs to be fired on the spot.
I'm gonna jump off. I will jump off the Walt Whitman Bridge. If they trade it up to number 1, fan
on Twitter will be following you.
That's like literally the worst thing that could possibly happen. Would be they trade up to number 1 and don't get the guy who should go number 1.
That'd be the most Philly thing to happen.
I would cry, like legitimately.
Most Philly thing to ever happen.
Yeah. Speaking of Colangelo, though, how, in your guys' opinion, because I saw this getting floated around by a lot more people, than I kind of, I didn't even think of this really. Like, how much credit do you think Colangelo deserves if this trade ends up being pulled off the way that it's being reported, and we end up drafting Markelle Fultz? How much do you give Colangelo? How much credit do you give Colangelo? But how much kind of, not backtracking, but how much credit do you give to Sam Hinkie for kind of putting him in this spot?
You have to give both guys credit, to be fair. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter of people saying, Hinkie did this, this is all because of Hinkie. And, like, to an extent, you're not 100% wrong, but you're, like, most of the way wrong. Like Hinkie got you the assets to be able to make the deal, but Colangelo is the one making the trade. So he's the one who has to get the credit. I'm sure Hinkie would have been trying to trade up the whole time to get number 1, but he's not here, unfortunately. I would like for him to still be here just like everybody else would, but he's not, and that's just a fact of life. Colangelo's the guy in the driver's seat. He's moving things along, and even though he apparently, from what I've heard, hates Danny Ainge and hates dealing with him, he's about to grab the number 1 pick from him. So I'm good with that, and I'm good with giving Colangelo as much credit as he deserves, which is, if he trades up to number 1, it's a lot of credit.
Yeah, because in the end he still has to make the pick. He still has to make the
It's an extremely difficult thing to do, to trade up for the number 1 pick in any sport. You have to give up so much. There's so much risk involved. Trading up to number 1 and having the guy not pan out, that it can be your career if you're wrong. And this is a case where it doesn't seem like you could be wrong, but you never know. There's still a ton of risk involved. And people are going to say, like, what if one of the picks you trade turns out to be, the next Jordan, blah, blah, blah. That's everybody's rationale all the time. Who cares? Like,
what if the number 1 pick
what
is
if
Jordan?
What if Fultz is the next Jordan? Like, what if Fultz is, like, is a bigger, faster, stronger version of Chris Paul with a better 3-point shot? Like, what if that happens? And, that basically turns him into the greatest point guard, of all time. So.
Well, and that second to Ben Simmons.
Yeah, fair. That's
assuming they put him there.
Totally fair point. Totally fair point. I skipped right over him. and my boy John Stockton.
Oh, of course. He is so underrated, I feel like, at times. Like, people just, like, they talk about Magic, they talk about all these other guys, but then it's just like, oh yeah, John Stockton was
the only
there.
guy in the conversation should be Magic for the best point guard of all time, with Stockton. Stockton's probably the second best. If not for... He's my favorite, but I would say he's the only guy up there with Magic.
I would probably agree with that, yeah. Because just, you get the good mix of both. Like, Magic could do basically everything, like, with the size and the strength, but then Stockton was, like, your stereotypical, like, perfect point guard.
Just a real quick update. Of course, Dylan Cousins and Reese Hoskins hit home runs in the same game, because when do they not?
If only we could just fast forward to when they're on the Phillies and the Phillies could not suck. That would just be a lovely time.
I do appreciate their bat bromance in Lehigh Valley. It's pretty exciting.
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, it's fantastic. But you know, hopefully, obviously, this trade will happen. You know, we'll have our core, hopefully, for the future, and Fultz, Simmons, and Embiid. Then, obviously, you know, Dario and Cabarro and all these other guys. And obviously, we still have the 4 second-rounders. Which nobody's really talking about now that, because, like, you know, yesterday and obviously since we kind of got the 4 second rounders, people have been, you know, talking about potential trades for those, possibly packaging a few of them to get back into, like, the late first round. But now that's just kind of gone by the wayside with these talks.
I think there's a non-zero chance that happens. I think that, you know, they could very well, you know, roll together a couple seconds, like their first second round pick, which I think is 33, right? Ish, something like that.
I think they have the 30.
I think they have 33 and 36, right? Or 33 and 38.
I'll check right now.
I don't know. I'm struggling to remember off the top of my head.
They have 35, or no, sorry. They have 36, 39, okay. 46, 50.
So if they roll, you know, 35 and, you know, 40, and the third one is 49 or 46 or 45, I don't know, who cares. Yeah, 35 and 46 together to get up to, you know, 28. Who knows if that's enough or not. To get, you know, I really like Jordan Bell a lot. I like Jordan Bell. I like Frank Jackson. I love Josh Hart. There are a lot of guys in the second round that can really help you off the bench. I even think Josh Hart could probably be like higher in your rotation. He's older. He's more ready to step right in. He's apparently been shooting the lights out in his workouts. So that's very exciting. I'm a Villanova guy, so I really enjoy. I would really enjoy a Villanova player, you know, that is not being heralded to be really good in the league. Kind of in that Kyle Lowry vein.
Yeah. I feel like it seems to always be with these Philly guys, like someone went to Villanova, someone went to Temple, someone, I know it's not Philly, but Penn State, like a few years ago with the Eagles and Sean Lee, like everyone wanted him to come here. I feel like they just never draft those guys, and it's the stupidest thing, because, like, obviously these guys are, you see, there are a lot of good players that come out of, obviously, Villanova, Temple, and I hope they don't pass on Hart if he's there for either of their, like, any of their picks in the second round, just because, like you said, he's been tearing it up with the workouts, and he was great at Villanova, so there's really no reason to pass up on him, especially with the need for shooters.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a guy like Josh Hart fits what you're trying to do at both ends. He's, you know, very strong defensively. He's you know, very quick laterally. He's a good athlete. He can really shoot. You know, he's a smart player, makes the right decisions all the time. So I think that he's definitely a guy that you should look at if he's still there at 35, which is not a given, because a lot of teams really like him. I would definitely jump all over him. I would also be, like, pretty happy about Frank Jackson if he falls into the second round. That he was a freshman at Duke who probably should have stayed, because he's, you know, a combo guard in the same mold as, you know, like a Brandon Knight, who is another guy that I really like. So, you know, if you're going to flip a second rounder for something, I would not be mad about that, because he doesn't really have a ton of value for whatever reason. And the reason, obviously, is because he's buried on the bench in Phoenix, but, you know, who really knows what they're doing over there? Aside from the obvious, they're just building the right way, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Phoenix is looking pretty solid. Obviously, Booker is.
They have one stud. Who knows if the two like combo forwards that they drafted last year are going to pan out? I mean, I think Chris is okay, and the other dude, I can't even remember, Dragan Bender. If one of those guys hits, I think they'll be lucky. Because I'm not really sold on either guy. I don't know if you guys remember me throwing a fit about it last year, but I hate Dragan Bender.
I think so. Yeah, I think during the mock draft you were like, why the fuck is Dragan Bender even
a
thing?
I definitely had like a hissy fit about Dragan Bender big time, and I did not want any part of him at any pick.
Oh yeah, Dragonbender is yeah, like you said, why is he a thing?
He's basically what like
Pretty
we all like. They want him to be Dario, but he's not going to be.
They
So,
think he's like a
yeah,
mix.
that just
They
sucks
think he's
for
a mix of
Phoenix.
Dario and Porzingis, and he's not either guy. He's probably more like Yaroslav Korolev, and if you don't know who he is, so neither does anybody else because he got
Exactly.
taken at like 13 by
Yeah.
the Clippers, 10 years ago or whatever, and never played, one season in the league maybe, and he was a bum.
Well, as is tradition with Clippers draft picks.
Oh yeah, Clippers draft. Who had have the Clippers drafted? Did they even? Yeah, because they drafted Blake.
That's about
like-
it, though. Well, DeAndre,
like-
I
Yeah,
think.
DeAndre in the second round was a good.
Did they draft DeAndre?
Yeah, that was a good get for them.
Yeah,
But that's
but,
really
like
it.
other than that, like
Yeah.
who have they drafted?
I mean, they drafted Eric
Um,
Gordon and Al Farouk Aminu and whoever else they traded to get Chris Paul.
Yeah,
Not a ton. And Eric Gordon was like a guy who was always injured. He had that Clippers like snake bite curse that most of their guys seem to have. I'm not really sure where.
yeah, pretty much.
I'm not going to get into their
and then we also do have to kind of move away from the drafting. We have an article here by out of Sports Illustrated by Chris Johnson. So the title of the article is 2017 NBA Mock Draft Best Fit for Every Team. And so you go through it. He has full. This is still up to date at the moment because Boston technically still does have the one, even though it's pretty much not finalized but very close to it. So he has Fultz at 1 to the Celtics, De'Aaron Fox at 2 to the Lakers, which is questionable. But then the biggest gripe here, Lauri Markkanen at 3 to the Sixers. And then if you keep scrolling, he has Josh Jackson at 4, Lonzo at 5, and then if you scroll all the way to 14, he has Malik Monk going to the Heat. Somehow has Malik Monk dropping to 14. So clearly, this guy doesn't have the utmost intelligence, to be writing articles like this. So I don't really know what the hell this guy was thinking.
Yeah, let's the team that only has big guys, let's give them another one. That is such a great idea. Everybody on the team who's worth saving is like a 4 or 5 basically, and like what I can't even like really talk about this because I'm gonna get too upset. And I'm just gonna start screaming. So like before I like blow up and lose my mind, I'm just gonna say that Lauri Markkanen will probably be fine when he gets picked 12th or whatever by the Pistons. Or whoever takes him at the back end of the lottery. But, like, the dude can literally only shoot. He can't score anywhere else. He can't rebound. He can't play defense. No thank you. Hard pass all day.
It's like the Sixers already have a stretch 4 in Dario. Why would we need another one when there's no way that makes sense in any type of way. And Malik Monk going to 14 is a disgrace. Like, how dumb are you that you actually think that he would slip all the way to 14? Like, he's not going to slip
even
out of the
Lonzo
top
to
10.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, even Lonzo
to
to
5 is a stretch. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the dumbest article I've seen, aside from some of the Flyers ones that we see, right, Kyle?
Yeah, like Mike, pretty much every Flyers article Mike Sealski writes. Just all
Pretty much, yeah. That's a fair statement. But other than that, really, there's nothing much to talk about Sixers, other than if, I guess, this trade were to somehow fall through, then we'd have to, talk about some of the guys that we haven't talked about, because we already talked about De'Aaron Fox, talked about Jason Tatum, talked about Josh Jackson, talked about Lonzo. And then the next two up would be Jonathan Isaac and Malik Monk. Out of those two, I'd prefer Monk, probably, just because he would probably fit better, but we probably won't even have to worry about that at this point.
Yeah, we went into this thinking that those were going to be the guys to focus on, and now we're like, so much for that, Markelle Fultz, and that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's totally fair. I do love Malik Monk, and I warmed to Jonathan Isaac a little, I guess. I don't know, I was never like a huge fan. but I can at least like see it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I like Monk a lot, but I always said like Monk is my second favorite player in the draft, but the guy who's number one is the guy that they're going to get number one. So as long as the trade goes through and they get Fultz, they got my favorite guy and the best guy in the draft, and that's like a marriage that like very infrequently happens.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's Fultz is not even Fultz is the best prospect in this draft. He is by far and beyond the best fit with Philly.
Absolute truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as I sip my water and watch this Phillies game, hopefully they'll win. Yeah, I mean, no real. I'm kind of just we're kind of, if you can't tell, we're trying to just procrastinate so that this damn deal will get announced already. But clearly that's not happening.
You know what's gonna happen as soon as we finish up. You know it's gonna happen
as soon. As soon. So I mean, other than that, really nothing to do with this. The Warriors won the title. I'm not sure if did we finish the no.
Yeah, it was still going on.
The Warriors won the title. Yeah,
it was still going on when we last recorded.
If you didn't hear, the Warriors, they won the title.
I didn't hear. I had no idea.
Unsurprising.
I had no idea that happened.
Yeah, my Cavs.
What's basketball? Who are the Warriors?
My Cavs in 7. I'm not too sure. I think some guy named maybe Kevin McHale is on that team or something. I'm not even too sure. I'm not sure. But if you heard my Cavs in 7 philosophy, just disregard that.
Not one of your finer moments, to say the least.
No, I was kidding.
Sure.
Did you even tell about? I was kidding. It was clear as day. Non-serious moment. So, okay. Anyway.
Whatever you say, Jared. Whatever you say.
Yeah. So, Kyle, would you like to talk some Flyers?
Sure. Team Nolan Patrick and nothing else, because I've officially just picked a side, and it's Nolan Patrick or nothing. But no, seriously, if we get Nico, I'll be fine. But I'm just really obsessed with getting Nolan Patrick at this point. Obviously, draft is next Friday and then Saturday. That's just the NHL draft is only 2 days. Flyers, again, if you have just been living under a rock for the past 2 months, a month and a half, the Flyers have the number 2 pick. And no clear number 1 has been said yet. New Jersey isn't tipping their hand as to who they're going to pick, which obviously, why would you? But Flyers are going to get a top 2 talent. My preference is Nolan Patrick, but again, I couldn't be mad with either one just because it's one of those drafts. It's a 2-player draft. There's not really a way that I could be upset with either of those guys. So, John, since I haven't heard your opinion really on this, who would, if you were given the option of the 2 guys, who would you pick?
I am pretty much on board with, whichever one is there you take, because I think both guys are really good. I have watched a little bit since I knew I was going to be coming on here, and I knew you would ask me, so I have, watched a little bit of both guys. I really like Nico's game a lot. I love the skating, because you have to skate in today's NHL. I think Patrick is a better skater than he was last year, too, because he was struggling with being hurt a lot. And I think the year before he was a much better skater. But I think Nico is probably the better player, but that's also why I think that he goes number 1. So you might as well start talking yourself into Nolan Patrick. He's more of the Devils type, but I think that they they go Nico at number 1. So I'm totally comfortable with having a big sniper type of dude. And Nolan Patrick, he's also stupid handsome, which I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine with. That dude is handsome as hell, and I'm not afraid to say it.
His cheeks, the rosy cheeks, are just I just want to pinch them. It's like a little small baby. I'm just you're so adorable. Why are how are you this? Oh, he is a very handsome human being.
Yep. No arguments there.
Yeah, I'm on board.
So as we just go into not talking about the actual talent of these hockey players, just their looks, because that's the real important issue here.
Yep. Always. You know who's also really handsome? Sam Morin. Sam Morin is a real good-looking dude. in person, and he's like a sweet, like a shy little like sweetheart type of dude. And by little, I mean he's one of the biggest people I've ever seen in person. He's gigantic, but he is like a little like teddy bear.
It's a shame that he might go to Montreal for Alex Galchenyuk.
I don't even know.
Which is totally not
I don't even know who that is. So I'm just kidding. I know who that is.
I was saying, like, I think you know who that is, John. Come on.
I probably know who that is. Wouldn't be able to pick him out of a crowd, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he's not exactly the most like noticeable player, but if you follow hockey, you probably know who he is.
I definitely.
If you haven't heard the rumors,
I know the name.
He is. Yeah, exactly. If you haven't heard the rumors, there are talks with Galchenyuk being out of Montreal just because, in case you haven't heard, Jonathan Drouin went to Montreal for Sergachev, the defenseman from Montreal. So
wait, what happened? Jonathan Drouin got traded?
Yeah,
I actually did not know that. Very informative day today on the Drive podcast.
Yeah, so Drouin goes to Montreal. He signed for 5.5, which it's hilarious that he only makes like $400K more than Braden Shen. And Drouin is clearly probably going to be the better player going forward. But that's a thing because Braden Shen, and if you know me, I don't really care for Braden Shen, so that's just my stance on it. But.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, Braden Shen is not an ideal player to have because he only scores on the power play, and given a a solid line to work around that Shen generally had last season, I think a lot of people would be able to score on a power play. So
yeah, I mean it's not hard to score on the Flyers' first power play unit. It's only been probably the best power play unit in the league over the past few years. It's not like, it takes a really high skill player to do it. Obviously, you still have to have some kind of skill, and Braden Shen does have skill, but it's just he doesn't drive play worth a damn at 5-on-5. He doesn't score worth a damn at 5-on-5.
He's always seemed like more of a battering ram type to me than like a skill player.
Well, and that's what I've done with like the some projections for next year. Like I've put in with Coots and Lindblom just because I'm like, Lindblom is going to be physical. Shen should be physical, but he's not. He's not as physical as he should be. So I figure if you get those two guys on the same line, mixed with Coots, who just drives play like it's nothing, like he does it with ease, then you make for a really perfect line almost because you have scoring touch, but you also have physical third line checking stuff. So, speaking of Shen, that's a thing that I want to kind of get into with the Galchenyuk rumors. So, obviously Morin is probably going to be the defenseman who goes back to Montreal if we do make this trade. Tim Panacci reported that they're not even in talks, but who knows? It's hockey, that could change in a day. But what I would like to see is packaging Shen with Morin and then getting Montreal's first, and then you could get whoever in the late first round. Like, it's not... I don't really have a preference. There's a few guys that I like that are like more than others, but it would make sense for Montreal because you're getting another scoring center/winger because Galchenyuk can play both. Shen can kind of play both. And that's just what I would like to see.
Yeah, that'd be a solid trade, I think, for the Flyers. I mean, it's giving up... You're talking about giving up Shen in that, yeah?
Yeah, Shen and Morin, and probably a pick just because it's Galchenyuk and the market's crazy for him. So
yeah,
I mean he did score.
Yeah, plus Galchenyuk's what?
At 21. That is definitely
20,
definitely a fact that I knew before like 30 seconds ago when I googled it.
Totally, John.
But yeah, obviously, that would be huge to get a guy, that young and already that talented. I mean, I say that young and that talented, but like it's better to have like a proven guy, even though he is young. Like John just said, he did score 30 goals at his age 21 season. So that's definitely a thing that you would give. That's definitely a thing that you would give up a Braden Shen and a Morin.
That's something you definitely pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's only played
and
2
especially
full seasons though, so he was hurt last year. He was hurt 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that's the only
Yeah,
thing
he's-
keeping the price from like skyrocketing out of control, because young goal scorers generally are not like, one NHLer, one solid prospect and a pick. But I feel like his injury history can drive his price down a little bit, which would work in the Flyers' favor.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so he played 48 games in 2012, 2013, but that was a lockout shortened season, so that's a full year.
Yeah.
65 games in 13-14. He played 80 and 82 in 14-15 and the following year, and then he only played 61 this year. So obviously that there are some injury concerns, but if you can get him for a guy like Shen, who doesn't drive play and who only can seem to score on the power play, and for Moran, who I don't want to see Sam Moran go, and I think that he's underrated by a large majority of Flyers fans. I would be okay if we get a guy like Galchenyuk in return for him, especially if you get the first round pick to go along with that.
I definitely feel the same way. I feel like that's not like too steep a price to pay. I like Sam Warren a lot, and I would prefer to keep him, but I feel like he has like he has the most value of the guys that you'd be willing to move. As far as I feel like he has more value than Haag. I feel like he has, and you're not going to move obviously like Provorov or Sanheim or Ghost. Those are the guys. Those are like your cornerstone defensemen. So you have to keep them. Barring some like insane like trade for a top 5 player in the league or whatever. But yeah, that's just not on the table. So
yeah, it's Galchenyuk is pretty much the only option I can really see them going after in terms of a top 6 forward, and even then it doesn't seem like that they're that in on the rumors. So who knows if we even can make the deal for him, but it's still out there. It might happen. A guy who is currently on the team, technically, Jordan Wheel, he is negotiating with the Flyers. Apparently that they've worked out the term, it's just the money, which I imagine the majority of the money negotiating is Jordan Wheel just screaming, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare makes 1.45. Actually, I need to make more than that. Like, there's no way that's not on the table.
If Wheel doesn't make more than Bellemare, then I mean, unless it's some like deal where he takes less to try to get more next summer, then I guess it would be whatever. But like if he were to sign like a multi-year, if he were to sign like a multi-year extension and make less than Bellemare, then you gotta wonder.
Yeah, I imagine Wheels is kind of going, so Hextall, you do realize I'm better than Bellemare, right? And Hextall just kind of looks down like, yeah, I guess. Wheels like, did I stutter? Like, I am better. Come on, give me what I'm worth. But so Wheels negotiating. I imagine since they're negotiating with him, they're going to protect him in the expansion draft, which, holy shit, the expansion draft is next week, and it's next Wednesday. It's very close. Things are already happening.
For the love of God, take Michael Neuvirth.
Please. There's no way that happens. Like, I'm convincing myself there's no way.
Yeah, they probably take Bellemare.
Did you see Alex Tanguay actually predicted that they would take Bellemare?
That's what I was really referring to.
I was just like, what kind of drugs are you on, Mr. Tanguay?
I mean, he probably has a concussion history because he played in the NHL. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's probably on a lot.
But,
but realistically, it's probably Raffle.
It's probably Raffle. Raffle makes the most sense for Vegas to go after. I can't imagine them taking anyone else. I know a few people have said Lawton, and I just don't get it. Like,
you see, the thing there is, I think the only reason they would take Lawton is if they see something in him long term because he's only 22 or 23 years, like he's still young, and from the times that the times that he was in Philly, I mean, he didn't look bad, but he didn't look like anything great. I mean, unless Vegas sees something special in him long term, then yeah, it's really not a possibility. But you never know. I mean, they are a new team. They probably want to stay. They don't want to be overly old, I guess, if you want to even call that. And it's not like even Raffle is old. I think he's what, like 27, 28 or so.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 28. But who knows? They could want to go young, and in 5 years, if they project that Lawton could be as good, if not better, than Raffle is right now. It's all for speculation, but in my eyes, as like a new franchise, if it was me making that pick, I would want a guy who has already proven that he is good and can be like a top 6, 8-ish, top 8-ish guy. I would just go Raffle if I was Vegas, but I hope as a Flyers fan that they don't.
Yeah. The fan in me is clinging on to the fact that they'll just take whoever. They won't take Raffle, and we'll get to keep him next year. But it just doesn't make sense for them to take anyone else. The Flyers are definitely protecting Andrew McDonald, so there's no way that Vegas could scoop him up, because it just doesn't make sense from their perspective. And I talked about this a little bit last week, but there's no way that they would protect Brandon Manning. Like, they're not going to protect...
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Protect a guy who is probably not even going to be in the lineup next year. And I know you can make the same argument for McDonald, but they played him on the top pairing last year.
Yeah, unless McDonald gets buried in the AHL, Brandon Manning won't be.
The Flyers are not protecting Andrew McDonald. We know that, right? No, they are protecting him. They are. Yeah, I mean, you have to keep a guy who plays top pair minutes, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they gave him top pair minutes, and it's just like, do you really expect them to not protect him? And Brandon Manning's a guy who I can't even imagine cracking the NHL roster as an extra defenseman next year. Like, they trusted AMAC to do the heavy lifting with their best defenseman in Provorov. It's stupid, and they shouldn't have done it, but like, I still think that AMAC gets buried in the AHL, but I don't think that they're going to bother protecting a guy in Manning.
I mean, they're not going to protect AMAC either, because they know Vegas isn't going to take him.
Sure, but who else do you protect? Like, it's...
How many guys do they have to protect?
They have to...
Three defensemen?
Yeah.
So Gudas...
And Ghost and Gudas. Locks.
Yeah. Well, don't they not have to protect
else.
Ghost since they just signed a new deal for him? I forget how the protection thing works.
No, I think they do.
No, yeah, they still have to... Yeah, because he's played he's been in the league for 3 years now, technically, because he played in, 14-15 as well for, 2 games, I think. It's... Somehow he is eligible, because I know that the NHL is, first and second year players aren't there, but I guess since he played 2 games in 14-15, he counts.
For some reason, I was thinking that, newly signed guys were not eligible to be expanded or taken by the expansion team, so that was probably just me being, not paying attention. But no, I think they definitely protect Gudas, definitely protect Ghost, and then you protect anybody that's not McDonald. That's a guy that you would pray that they would take, even though it'll never happen. I would rather protect Manning than McDonald, if we're being totally real.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not doubting that. I would personally, I would rather protect Manning, but from the Flyers' perspective, they're definitely going to do it. I just can't imagine a scenario where they don't, and it's stupid to protect him, but at the same time, you gave him top pair minutes last year, and it's stupid of them to do it. But who else? It's between him and Manning, because they can't. Why would you protect Delzano when you know he's leaving? You're not going to protect Schultz. You're not going to. Yeah, or T.J. Brennan. You're not going to protect an AHL guy. So
this is just making me sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
Yeah. And they pretty much don't have, and they don't have to protect Moore, and they don't have to protect Sanheim. They don't have to protect Hag. They don't have to protect any of those. They don't have to protect Philip Myers. None of those guys have to be protected. So
it's down to Manning.
Pretty much Manning or McDonald. Yeah.
Well, and I saw an article that was Flyers are leaning towards a 7-3-1 format, because they're again, in case you don't know, 2 formats to the protection slots you can do. You can either do 8 forward/defenseman, or you can do an 8 forward/defenseman and a goalie, or the 7-3-1. And if you're wondering why the team would take fewer players, is if you're a team like Nashville, who has all the amazing defensemen in the entire league, they're obviously going to want to protect all those guys, and then sadly leave guys like Calle Yarncroke and Craig Smith and Colin Wilson to be taken by Vegas, but it's the gamble that a team like that will take. But for the Flyers, like, no one ever was gonna, like, the Flyers were never gonna go with an 8 forwards / defenseman format. Like, that was just never gonna happen. And Hextall said that they're gonna do it, so I don't know why it was like, oh, they're leaning towards it. Like, no, we all kind of knew was happening.
That's fair.
Yeah. It's you know, obviously it sucks to have to, I guess, I wouldn't say waste, but use a protection on AMAC as your, like, quote unquote third best defenseman that you have to protect. Because like Kyle said, and like Kyle has mentioned a few times before, there's a decent chance that AMAC gets buried in the AHL. So it's like we said, he did get top 2 minutes last year, so you have to, I guess, protect him in a sense. But it's shitty, pretty much is the whole scenario, because there's really nothing to say about it that would make sense other than you kind of have to because you played him a good amount. So,
and I mean, it's not like Vegas was going to take him anyway. I know that, like, there's obviously a chance, but I think that Vegas is not a dumb organization, and that they, who is the guy? I think it was General Fanager. They hired the dude who ran that site to do to be like their analytics guy or whatever. Mm-hmm. And if they hired a guy like that to do analytics, then, or it wasn't analytics, it was like someone with a cap. Like, even then, you're not going to take a guy like AMAC. Like, just from a cap perspective alone, you're not going to take a $5 million defenseman who, again, like, if you know anything about Andrew McDonald, you know that his Corsi numbers are garbage and that his point totals are garbage too.
Because
so
he's garbage.
There would be no way that Vegas would go after him.
Pretty much, yeah. It's, like we said, it's just, at this point, you pretty, the forward situation, we know who they're going to protect, more than likely.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
just up to Vegas, pretty much.
Yeah, there's one slot left, basically, because almost all the other guys are filled out by no move clauses and no trade clauses. So it's down to basically Raffle. They're not going to protect Matt Reed, Lawton, or Wheel. And those are basically the 3 guys that I could envision them protecting, and that's about it. But it's going to be insane with the expansion. Everything basically gets announced on the 21st. So any trade that Vegas makes, obviously all the selections will get made available then, because that's when the team gets unveiled. Which, NHL, why are you letting Pierre Maguire unveil Vegas' team? Like, it's Pierre Maguire. No one fucking likes him. Why? Just why?
Yeah, he is the dirt worst. I hate Pierre Maguire so much.
He is easily probably the worst analyst in all of hockey. Okay, never mind. Mike Milbury is.
Yeah.
Realized like halfway through that.
That is fully accurate.
But that pretty much wraps it up for Flyers. We'll get into Philly stuff then. So Jared, you can take it away.
Yeah. So alright. So obviously MLB draft happened just this past week, and we won't go through every pick that the Phillies made, but I do want to go through their at least their top 2, because I think that's fair, and then I'll kind of just mention some picks after that. So first round, the Phillies took Adam Hazley, outfielder out of UVA. I really like this pick. I was ecstatic when the Diamondbacks took Pavin Smith at 7, then Hazley dropped to 8, because, oh my dear Lord, I cannot stand first base only prospects that could possibly in the future be a decent outfielder. Like, that would have been the worst scenario, even with how great Pavin Smith is, because like I said last week when we were kind of running through the possibilities, Pavin Smith had probably the most sound swing in this draft, like by a good ways. and his approach was crazy good. So was Hazley's. They were teammates at UVA, and UVA is pretty much just like profoundly known for turning hitters into very good, not just hitters at the plate, but good pitch seers, pitch recognizers. So I was really happy with the Hazley pick, honestly. To talk a little bit about him, since didn't really do much of that last week. So last year he hit 390, 491, 659, 14 home runs. He had 44 walks and 21 strikeouts. So pretty much like Pavin Smith, he walked a ton more than he struck out. And really, Hazley kind of not got lucky, but he got a lot more recognition than he otherwise would have if Smith wasn't his teammate. Because Smith was kind of the one that everybody was highly touting, and then all of a sudden, they come to these UVA games and they see Hazley pretty much putting up really good numbers as well, and then all of a sudden he just shot up boards because he was still good and whatnot, but he just wasn't projected as high as 8 as he ended up going. He was kind of like late first to like second round, kind of touted, but he's pretty much, if you want to kind of paint a picture of Hazley, he's pretty much what we have now in Moniak and Odubel, which is good and bad. It's good because obviously Odubel, even though he's going through a little bit of rough patches this season, he's still a very good player, and obviously Mickey Moniak he was a number 1 pick last year that we selected in the 2016 draft. The only kind of knock that I would kind of give the Phillies for drafting a guy who they already have is potential upside isn't real. Don't get me wrong, Hazley has potential upside, but at this point, his swing is pretty much what it is. So I guess that's kind of one thing. There's no real room to kind of make improvements, other than, I guess, at the plate a little bit in his approach, if you need that, because like I said, he had 44 walks to 21 strikeouts. But yeah, pretty much expect him to start either in Lakewood, or if the Phillies want to be aggressive with him, then expect him at Clearwater. But I think safe bet is Lakewood for Adam Hazley. So yeah, what did you guys kind of think of the pick? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you expect it?
Do you want me to go first? I'll go first if you want. Okay, I'm just jumping in. So, as is typical for me with the MLB draft, I know absolutely nothing about the guys until they get drafted, and then I do very cursory research on them. And by that measure, I love the guy, the kid that they got. I love Adam Hazley, right? That's how it's pronounced. Hazley? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just to make sure, don't want to do the new goat any injustice by saying his name wrong. But no, I think from what I've watched, his hit tool is very real. He's definitely got room to grow into his power. So he looks like he can really drive the ball. He's got good speed. He can play defense in the outfield. All good with it. Very pleased.
Yeah, just a real quick mention as well. The scouting director for the Phillies, pretty much the reason that they were targeting him practically at 8 was because of what you just said, the potential of him to grow into his frame more. Our scouting director pretty much said that he kind of sees a 20 to 25 home run potential in Hazley. So that's a very big plus as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like John, I didn't really know much about him until I asked Jared about it, because I have no time to understand basically any of the MLB draft prospects, because it's such a crapshoot, and you see guys who are projected to go 20th, all of a sudden they'll get selected 10th because the team will just like a certain aspect of their
and
game.
Signability and all this other stuff. I don't really get it because I never really got into it, and I'm totally willing to admit that I'm good with admitting that I don't really know anything, but from my brief research, I like this particular kid.
Well, yeah, that's like I texted Jared right after. I was like, "Do we like this? Like, are we okay with this pick?" And he's just like, "Yeah, we like
fair.
it." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll trust
I
your
waited.
opinion
I
on
waited
it."
to see how everybody on Twitter reacted, and I was like, all right, I should be happy. I'm going to go look him up on YouTube. On YouTube.
Yeah, he should be a good fit. He should be a good fit for sure. Even if they end up, and the good thing with him is that he should be a quick riser because, like we said numerous times already, his hit tool is crazy. His approach is very good. He does still have a little bit of growing and some frame to fill in, but that he shouldn't be that long with it. He is, he was a college junior, so he's 21 years old at this point. But really, I mean, like I said, he should be a quick riser. I would probably expect him in Philly. You could probably put a timestamp on it, 2019. I'd give it latest 2020, but I think fair argument would probably be 2019 if he doesn't regress with his hit tool and regress with his approach. I don't see really any way in which he doesn't at least get a sniff of the big leagues in 2019, and then they can go from there whether or not they're contending at that point. Because if they are contending at that point, then you can make the case, well, you could package him for something if he's raking or something. But if he is raking and you want him in an outfield to go along with Bryce Harper, and when we signed him and when we trade for Mike Trout.
Now we're talking. That's an outfield.
Yeah, now that's an outfield. Yeah, Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, and then who cares really about that?
Also, can we just agree? Can we all agree that the Phillies should just throw like 30-35 million a year at Bryce Harper, just to make sure that he comes here?
Oh yeah,
that's like.
I'm throwing 40. I'm throwing 40.
Literally, give him the checkbook, whatever you want.
I'm throwing 40.
Whatever you want.
It's gonna be because the thing is, we have to outbid the Yankees. So
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to throw you're gonna have to literally let Bryce Harper manage the finances of the Philadelphia Phillies.
I'm good with it. Let's do it. Let's get wild.
I'm throwing 40 at him, easy. Because if the thing is, if you give him 10 years, 400 mil, you gotta figure that would be there would probably be an option in there around after the 4th year, maybe 5th year or so. And then obviously the options the rest of the time, but which he would if he somehow got better than he already is, he'd probably pick it up and look for 50 mil a year, but that which would be insane. But yeah, I'm throwing 40 mil probably at Bryce Harper.
I would just meet with him first and be like, okay, now whatever anybody else offers you, come back to us and we'll beat it. We swear. Bring us the highest dollar amount that anybody offers you. We will beat that number.
Yep. Give him $1 million more a year.
Yeah, literally. However much more he wants.
Yeah, that's
totally
fine.
Good.
Fine with me.
Can we please get that televised,
yeah.
the bidding war of Bryce Harper? Just have as a TV special.
That would be so great. What great television that would be. It would probably end. It would probably end with Matt Klentak throwing head kicks at whoever whatever Cashman is running the Yankees. Is it still Cashman? I don't even know. I don't pay enough attention to baseball.
It should still be Cashman. As far as I know, it still is. But
I don't know. I stopped really caring after 2012. I'm trying. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
It's tough. It is very tough.
I'm waiting for all the young kids to come up. I really want Alfaro up. I really want Scott
we just right now we just need to call up Nick Williams, and I think everybody's prospect satisfaction will be it'll be quenched for it'll be set. Yeah, everybody's thirst for a prospect will be quenched for a little bit with Nick Williams.
Yeah, I mean,
in my opinion,
he's having his best power season so far in his career up to this point. I pay way closer attention to the Iron Pigs than I do to the Phillies at this point.
I mean, can you blame you? It's
I don't blame myself for anything.
Yeah,
ever. no matter
They're
what.
insane.
There's nothing.
Like,
Nothing is ever
yeah,
my
like,
fault.
they're-
Just don't tell my wife I said that.
Yeah, like they're demolishing in AAA, and JP's having a down. You see, this is kind of my thing with JP Crawford, right? Just kind of go off track a little bit here. Everybody's like freaking out about him because everybody, he was overgraded and he was this and he was that. You take a look at Nick Williams in 20. Okay, so he got traded to Philly as part of the Cole Hamels deal, along with Thompson, Alfaro, whatnot, and I kind of look at it like this. So he came over, Nick Williams, in 2015, and hit. I forget if he hit well with, because he started in Double-A with Reading, and okay, so here it is. So he came over 2015, hit 320 in 22 games. So whatever, 22 games, small sample size. Then goes to Lehigh Valley the next year, and admittedly tried to pretty much just force his way into the big leagues. Ended up striking out 136 times, hit 258, got on base at a 287 clip. Pretty much not Nick Williams type numbers, right? Because the lowest he had ever hit in a large sample size throughout his career was like 280. Or, yeah, just above 280, 283. So you kind of look at it and you just wonder, like, what was up with him. And admittedly, after the season, he pretty much came out and said, yeah, I tried to force my way on. That's what I kind of think is going on with J.P. Crawford right now, because at the time that Nick Williams did that last year, he was 22. And now you look at J.P. Crawford, and, what is he? 22. So
That's generally like when
guys.
the high school kids think they should be in the big leagues already.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
in
pretty
JP's
much.
case, maybe he could have gone up, a little earlier, but they drafted him as such a young kid that he really needed time to fill out physically to really handle it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like everything is still there. It's not like he has regressed, because his approach is still crazy good. Like you would look at these guys as you look at this guy as his average, and you say, oh my god, he's hitting 194. He's his on base is probably in the low 200s, and you look at his on base, and he's still getting on base at a 313 mark, which is it's the lowest of his career up until this point.
But it's also the lowest batting average of his career to this point.
Yeah,
so
it's the
that
lowest batting
explains
average by a mile. Like in a sample size, decently sized. Pretty much, if you look at his career batting statistics in 40 plus game sample sizes, he's hit 308, 345, 285, 275, 295, 288, 265. And then you just all of a sudden you get to 2017, and you just see 194. But still, the walks. He has 36 walks and 42 strikeouts. Like the approach is obviously still there. Which, and his career in the minors, he has 268 walks to 285 strikeouts. So
that's stupid good.
Yeah,
That is so
insane.
stupid.
It's insane. Yeah, in 2015, over 107 games, he had 9 more walks than he did strikeouts. The approach hasn't regressed by any means. It's just, if you look at Matt Winkelman, who is probably the most knowledgeable person about baseball that I've ever seen, if you look at him, he's pretty much been saying, this is not a broken prospect. He's not regressed in anything other than his hit tool, and he said really the only real reason that it's regressed as it has is because of his timing, and that's really it. So,
And that's something
with
you
the
figured that
JP
wouldn't be that hard
Crawford-
to figure out, to fix and everything.
yeah, it really wouldn't be. That's probably the easiest fix you could get for a young player, because you figure if they want to hit the hell out of the ball, and they're trying to go too hard at power, then you have to kind of slow their swing down and everything. And that's a process. But out of tools a prospect could have, and especially JP with how advanced his approach is and how crazy good he is at plate discipline and pitch recognition, I would not be worried yet
And I think
about JP.
like,
so.
I think scouts, like that scout or whatever who was like, oh, we overgraded him, that's just a cop-out. Like, that's just you not actually caring about what his, like, underlying stats are. That's just, oh, we overgraded him, sorry.
Yeah, it's looking at the normal counting stats and being like, okay, we were wrong, blah blah blah, not really caring enough to look into it further.
Exactly, which is what, unfortunately, many scouts in many sports tend to do nowadays. It's just, like
how
it's related all back to the Flyers. Like, oh, Andrew McDonald isn't that bad. He had whatever plus minus, or Ghost is worse than he is because he had a minus whatever. And it's like, yeah, no one goes by plus minus anymore. Like, this is not what we use anymore.
Nobody listens to techno anymore, guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what that joke was about.
So then, to hop back into the draft, the second round, the Phillies took Spencer Howard. He is a right-handed pitcher. He went to Cal Poly.
Poly.
So, is it Cal Poly? I didn't know. I always thought it was Poly. Okay.
It should be, but the word is actually like Polytechnical Institute or something like that. So.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I got you covered. Don't worry.
All right, dope.
I remember Winkleman being very confused by this pick.
Yeah. I always think that was like. There's so many words that I think are pronounced one way, and I pronounce it that way like for my whole life to myself. Like I don't say it out loud, and I say it out loud, and I get corrected, and I'm like, shit. Like now I gotta read.
I literally can't control myself from correcting people's pronunciation or grammar, so don't feel bad.
Oh yeah, me too. So I appreciate any because I'm a grammar like
Nazi.
I hate
to use a horrible term.
Yeah. Yes. Pretty much.
We'll say stickler.
But
Stickler
anyway.
is a better term than Nazi.
Yeah.
Especially in
probably.
today's day and age.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah. So yeah, Spencer Howard, right-handed pitcher, Cal Poly. It was not a pick that a lot of people saw coming because pretty much he wasn't graded above, or he wasn't ranked in the top 100 on any prospect big board aside from the worst, MLB Pipeline. So yeah, so he, he's a decently sized guy. He does have room for growth. He's only 21, or he's only 20. Sorry, he's about to turn 21. His fastball, it's average-ish, but it can be plus or above average, depending on the day, I guess, which is a bit of a, not a worry, but a bit of a downside to him. Fastball 92 to 94, can hit up to 96 with it, and he can, the thing with him is his upside isn't crazy high, but if he does hit his ceiling, he could be a middle of the rotation guy, possibly like a 2-starter at best. But realistically for him, he's either a back end starter or a pretty, because if he ends up I guess quote unquote falling to the bullpen, he's probably the one guy that you could kind of look at and say like, okay, like that's actually like not a bad downside because of the pitches that he has. So yeah, they took him way over slot, but that kind of ended up turning out to be a little bit of a foreshadow to who they took later on in the draft, way under slot. Guys like Jake Holmes, who was supposed to go, I think, 5th round or so. They ended up getting him in the 11th. He's a shortstop out of Pinnacle High School in Arizona. Same with Zach Warren. Zach Warren was supposed to go, I think he was slotted in like 7th or 8th round. They ended up grabbing him in the 14th. He's a left-hander out of Tennessee. And the story of the draft was when they drafted Jordani Mezquita, quote unquote drafted him, I guess, because like he was. So basically, what happened with him is they signed. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this though. So basically, what happened was just a few days before the draft, the Phillies signed a guy named Jordani Mezquita, left-handed pitcher. He was from the same place, but he was listed on the Phillies website as born in 1988, I believe it was, or 1989, one of the two. But then they ended up, or 1989 or something like that. So basically it was shown that he was like 28, 29 years old. But then they drafted a guy, Jordani Mesquita, with the same birthday, same everything, except that he was born on the same date 10 years ahead of time. So it was like nobody knew what the hell was going on until they found out that they couldn't sign the guy because he technically went to school in New Jersey. So they ended up drafting him in the 8th round when their turn came around. So it was it was a weird thing.
So wait, what is the exact reason that they couldn't draft him again?
So they couldn't. No, they drafted him. They drafted him in the 8th round, 233 overall.
Okay.
They couldn't sign him before the draft. So they thought he was out of the Dominican Republic. I believe. I think it was the DR. So they thought he was out of the DR. So they signed him just as a signee, a free agent signee out of the DR. And then a week, but it was the same info, same everything, except the birth date was 10 years prior to the guy that they ended up drafting, with the same name, same everything. But it turned out to be the same guy because they ended up finding out that I guess he went to school at one point, or he is going to school in New Jersey in high school, so they couldn't sign him. They had to draft him, and then he just so happened to fall to them in the 8th round, so they got him.
That is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, and it doesn't surprise me because it's baseball, and baseball drafts and just the prospects are crazy.
Yeah, like Matt Winkleman was really confused, and then until Matt Breen and then Todd Zalecki, they were reporting on it, saying like, yeah, it's the same guy. But it was strange for the first, like, because I remember seeing somewhere that they had signed a guy, and then they drafted this dude, and I'm like, wait, like that name sounds so familiar, looks so familiar. And then I looked at it, and I looked on the Phillies website, and I was seeing everything that they were seeing, where it said, like, this guy, he was, like, 29 years old, or 28, something like that. And then this other dude that they just drafted is the same everything, same birthday, same birth month, and it's just 10 years later, born in, like, 98 or 99, so.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Alright, then.
Super weird.
Freaking baseball drafts, man.
Yeah, baseball drafts are the weirdest because it's not just talent. It's you have to take into account like signability and whatnot. So, because like some guys like Brady McConnell, just as like an example, he was a shortstop. I think he was out of high school. He was like late to mid first round projected, but like his commitment to college, I forgot where he's going. His commitment to college was one of like the most intense that like a lot of scouts and like analysts and whatnot have like ever seen, they said. And so he ended up falling to like I think the 17th round or something like that. So yeah, it's the MLB draft is it's something else. It's definitely something else.
Whole different animal.
But yeah, pretty much. But yeah, let's kind of move on to just some random things for the Phillies. Nick Pivetta looked very good against Boston. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, 107 pitches. Aaron Nola almost did the same thing as we were recording this, except he went 107 through 6, gave up 4 runs, gave up a 2-run bomb to right center that tied the game, so that sucks. But anyway. As we can see, as Kyle has ever so, just bluntly written it out, basically, yeah, screw every other game.
Yeah.
Because they haven't won.
Every other game that we recorded since.
Yeah. They haven't won. They won against Boston when Pivetta had to stand on his head, pretty much.
Mixing your metaphors.
But other than that, the Phillies have been horrendous.
Nick Pivetta did the equivalent of what Steve Mason had to do for like 3-4 years. He had to just stand on his head for them to win a game, and that's basically what Nick Pivetta did.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fair.
Michael Franco. He's coming around, hopefully, I think. Maybe, possibly, hopefully.
Please.
Last 5
Please.
games, hitting 400, 455, 550, and the BBIP nightmare has, I wouldn't say come to an end, but it has definitely taken a step forward in his 471 BBIP in his last 5 games. 3 doubles, make it 4 if you're counting tonight, because he did double earlier. 2 walks, 3 Ks. His average rose, his on-base percentage rose, his slugging percentage rose, his BBIP rose. So that's obviously good signs, because we want Michael Franco to be good, don't we?
Yeah, that would be ideal to have a guy that we invested so much in since he had that breakout year in 2015. It would be nice if he could pan out the way we expected him to.
Yeah, for sure. And then Tommy Joseph also has been on fire in June. He's hitting, I would assume this number has gone up since I think he has a hit or two tonight. He is hitting 309, 333, 491 in June, and on his 11-game hitting streak, he is hitting 364, 391, 523 with a 469 BBIP. Nice. So he's having a very productive month of June. So that's great to see, obviously. It sucks, man, because, like, Tommy's heating up as Rhys Hoskins. I guess if you want to call it a slump, he's still hitting over 300, I think. But, I don't know.
The timing is
like,
just hilarious.
Yeah, it's weird. But, like, if you look at, like, the Phillies, and you look at, like, Franco's heating up, Joseph has been heating up for he has been hot for, like, the last few weeks at this point. Altair, he's cooled off a little bit, but not much. Odubel's kind of been hitting better. Howie Kendrick has been hitting pretty much the same thing the whole year. And you look at him, they're like, how are they losing? And then you look at then you look at, your pitching, pretty much front to back, and then you say, oh, that's out. So, then kind of some shitty news. J.P. Crawford day to day with a groin strain. But that's the thing. Everybody's kind of been shitting on his June performance so far, but he has a groin strain. So I guess you could kind of blame it on that, but he did hit like 260 with I think I got 370 on base in May. So now all of a sudden June rolls around, gets a groin strain, hits 193 in June. So hopefully that's the reason why. And I am very reluctant to say that I was at the last game he played in. So,
Jared, you did this. You hurt JP.
I hope I didn't.
You did, though.
I didn't see anything.
The facts
so
speak
I
for
don't know
themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's all your fault.
It was from when he was dancing, wasn't it?
It's all your fault.
Oh my God! It all comes back to the dancing. Wow.
Maybe he shouldn't be dancing. He should be, doing productive things. If I want to go full Mike Milbury on us, on J.P. Crawford.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's been weird, Kyle, hasn't it? Like, I swear to God, like the last 2 or 3 episodes, I swear to God, I've said things that make bad things happen.
Yeah, it seems to be, and sorry, I just read a tweet that I'm freaking out about. So I swear to God, I always do this. I always bring it back to hockey. Craig Custance just made a tweet that says, "Sounds like smaller trade going down between Flyers and Coyotes." So that's a thing. I don't know who the hell would be involved there, and I'm really kind of worried now.
It'll be fine. Nothing will. Maybe we found a trade partner for Michael Neuwirth.
That's no lie. That's immediately what I just thought, because that way, Arizona
maybe a Reed.
Arizona could protect Neuwirth and leave Mike Smith open. Okay then. Yeah, now my mind is just in a blur because I'm just oh God, who could they trade? And I saw someone would say Mike Smith. I'm like, please, dear God, no. Please, dear God.
Yeah, it's
That would not be ideal.
Yeah, hopefully that would be. Hopefully, we would be. Hopefully the Flyers would be able to pull off a solid deal back. What if Kyle
just
Nash retweet? What if you're getting Pronger back?
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris Pronger's coming back.
Hopefully, we did find a trade partner for
Andrew McDonald.
Neuwirth, possibly Reed. That'd be solid.
Reed would be
No,
lovely.
Reed's
Well,
going to Vegas. Dad, don't leave us, Dad.
But yeah, man, it's been a weird episode. Let me tell you, we procrastinated probably about 15 minutes extra on the Sixers, hoping to God that something would get announced. Nothing has been announced. It's really just guaranteed at this point that as soon as we wrap this episode, that this trade is going to happen and be not finalized but announced as
Agreed to.
non-officially
In principle.
official. Yes. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, that would
That's
be
about it.
That would be it. That sounds about right.
But yeah, to wrap, obviously, the hot take of the week goes to me this week. And it's not really, I don't even know if it's a hot take, but it's like, it's something that, like, I've seen brought up again. Like, it was a big talk about, I think, I want to say maybe like 6 months ago or so, and it keeps getting back up every once in a while-ish. But I'll break Kyle. Go ahead. What would you like to say about Nick Cousins?
Yeah, so Nick Cousins is probably getting traded, which I'm very happy
Oh,
about.
yeah,
because
he's a real
fuck Nick
piece of shit.
Cousins. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was just
I'm
like,
good with that.
No, I just
Pretty
saw
talented
it.
player, but a real
anyway,
piece of shit. So, smell you later.
Yeah.
man, I was.
Yeah, that's a solid. That's
Yes, but
definitely a
watch it
solid,
be like a third-round pick or something like that. I'll die laughing.
Dude, it'd be Zach Ronaldo all over
I
again.
would die laughing.
Oh,
I still die laughing
yeah,
about the Ronaldo trade. So
Greatest trade that Ron Hextall's ever made.
could ever make.
Getting freaking a third-round pick for Zach Ronaldo.
Jesus.
Unbelievable.
I lost my oh yeah, so it's something that I saw be brought up a few times this past week or so, and that is to have. So I'm not the oldest of fellas. Neither is Kyle. Neither is John. And we're all we all like to write and whatnot. So I've seen this brought up by multiple people, a lot of who being guys who currently are not top of the top writers, but they're up there. They're pretty
They're
high.
paid
up there.
journalists.
Yes, they're paid journalists. Pretty much what they've been saying is when you're an up and coming or a supposed up and coming, you're trying to get your name out there, type of writer, you should give your work to these places for free, and that is the dumbest thing. Like, I can understand doing it back when these guys were coming up, because when some of these guys who now work for ESPN, Yahoo, Fox, whatever, when they were coming up, these guys that are saying this, they're in their upper 40s, 50s ish, around there. So you figure when these guys were our age coming up, 20, 30 years old, which was 20, 30 years ago, they're like the financial thing wasn't as I can't even think.
Available?
I can't even think what I'm saying. Yes, yeah, like kids didn't have as much money. I'm not saying kids had fortune back then, but with college and how much that costs, obviously everybody knows that. It's just a lot harder. But like what I'm saying is like, why would you give something that you worked on for free? I could see like blogs and whatnot, and just like kind of like small freelance sites and whatnot. Then yeah, sure, just write as a contributor. But if you're kind of going out, doing this reporting or recapping or analyzing whatever, get something for what you're doing, because if you're not trying to get something, then you're just going to get exploited. It's just how the journalism business works. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Don't give anything to a
Very
major sports company for free. Make them pay for it. They pay other guys for it. They can pay you for it if they want it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really just like
Also, when these guys came up,
sh-
the internet wasn't like a thing. You couldn't like go to 100 websites and find out the information that you want to find. Like you had to go to the
Yeah.
paper and like give them pieces for free so that they would get a feel for your style or whatever, and then maybe they would hire you.
Yeah. But nowadays, like you just said, there's hundreds of sites that you can go to the same thing. If you have some kind of unique piece or some unique news story or whatever, don't just willingly hand it over and just lay down and say, okay, here, like, whatever. You gotta actually...
Yep.
Especially if you're like trying to make a name for yourself. Like the best thing you can do when you're starting out writing is to get it out there to as many people as possible, and don't just settle for exposure. Like if you have a real opportunity to get like monetary whatever, or just like anything that's like tangible, then you got to do that. Like you're not obligated just because you're not well known or whatever to just be exploited by whoever is, I don't really want to say your boss because you're not getting paid, but you know what I mean, like the person that you're writing this for or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, that'll pretty much wrap. Just kind of recap what we talked about. Obviously, talked about the Sixers and their hopeful trade that will be going down with the Celtics.
Please God.
Maybe
Please
tonight.
God.
Yeah. Trade, yes. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. It won't be official until draft night if the 2018 Lakers pick is involved. But so that's more than likely what's going to end up happening. We'll have to wait until it's official. But we'll probably get a report from these guys who have been reporting on it all night, pretty much, that way before draft night that it's finalized. And then obviously, some Flyers expansion and some Jordan Wheel and some trade talk possibly. And then obviously Phillies, they're a depressing watch at the moment, but hopefully in the near future they could pick it up. Looks like some of their guys, Michael Franco, Tommy Joseph, looks like they're coming around. Nick Pivetta looked promising, so hopefully some of these guys in the minor leagues get their promotions. Scott Kingery, I swear to God, if he isn't promoted to at least AAA in the next 2 weeks, I don't know. I'm gonna go to Matt Klentak's office and just slap him upside the head, because at this point, you just gotta promote him. Like, Jesus, he's slumping and still hitting over 300. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much gonna do it. As always, thank you for listening. We would like to thank John for joining us and putting up with us.
Anytime, I had a blast.
How long is it? Hour and a half.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And for talking Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, anything, pretty much.
We always want John to come on. He's a lovely human being.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate
absolutely.
it. Had a lot of fun. Anytime.
Yes. Oh, it was a great time. Absolutely. And as always, for Kyle, I am Jared. This has been the 20th episode of the Drive Podcast. We will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for listening and have a good one.